A new hog king eating fried rice with a dip sauce and a blammy, crody.
Round 1 is finally set. Kendrick Lamar's Euphoria versus Drake's Push-Ups. Who do you believe had the better diss record? Now, after 17 days waiting for Kendrick Lamar to respond to Drake, he finally rose on his 17th day and released Euphoria, and went at Drake in the most articulate and clever way possible. But contrary to popular belief that Kendrick Lamar bodied Drake, I actually feel that he just met the bar, and here's why. Kendrick played the morality and authenticity card to a T. He questioned Drake's blackness, he spoke on fatherhood, knowing the past that Drake has with Pusha T involving the exposure of Adonis, and he called Drake a scam artist and not a real rapper, and told Drake to stop saying nigga because he's biracial and not fully black.
Tommy Hilfiger stood out, but FUBU never had been your collection.
The first thing he did in the song was compare Drake to Tommy Hilfiger, a racist clothing brand that was popular in the 90s, and him to FUBU, a black clothing brand that was prominent in hip-hop, and saying that Drake has never had FUBU in his collection because he was never really embraced by black culture and never had that type of lifestyle, and talked about how he's like Tommy Hilfiger, who's an imposter and was never really accepted after his true colors got exposed. Kendrick Lamar, without a doubt, is way more of a cultural voice of black struggle, and a lot of people give Drake flack for that because they say that he makes meaningless music and doesn't talk about the real stuff going on that he experienced. But what people fail to realize is Drake had a very different upbringing in Canada, living in Forest Hill Drive, than Kendrick had in Compton. So you're expecting two people from two different upbringings and lifestyles to speak on the same topics at a higher match when one person just didn't experience or even live like that, which is kind of unfair if you ask me.
I make music that electrify 'em, you make music that pacify 'em.
So Kendrick Lamar would then tell Drake that I make music that's electrifying, you make music that's pacifying, and if you ask me, I feel like he took a page out of J. Cole's book. You know, when J. Cole went at Kendrick Lamar in 7-Minute Drill, he said, like, your second shit put niggas to sleep, but they gassed it, talking about the Pimp a Butterfly, and he's saying the same thing about Drake's music right here. This beef is involving a lot of gun talk, from the song name First Person Shooter, and even on Like That, Kendrick Lamar saying, F sneak this and I got 3 switches, I'ma up it on y'all. But what he said in this song was a lot different.
The very first time I shot me a Drake, the homie had told me to aim it this way. I didn't point down enough. Today I show you I learned from those mistakes.
Now this verse right here is plain and simple, of course. It's just straight gun talk. Drake is the artist rapper name, and Draco is a short form name that we call a gun and the AR at Draco. It's very point blank, very straightforward.
Those mistakes. Somebody had told me that you got a ring. On God, I'm ready to double the wage. I'd rather do that than let a Canadian nigga make Pac turn in his grave.
Then the next part he said, somebody had told me that you got a ring. On God, I'm going to double the wage. I'd rather do that than let a Canadian nigga make Pac turn in his grave. Now at the end of Taylor Made Freestyle, or even at the intro, because that's when Pac's verse was in, Drake was playing mental gymnastics. He had Pac say things like, Kendrick, we need ya, West Coast savior, F this Canadian light-skinned nigga, don't let him beat you. And Drake basically had Snoop and Pac saying stuff to motivate him to like, yo, don't let this beef die down. You have to avenge the West Coast. Say this. I heard on the Joe Budden podcast. You know, what he's really referencing is that Drake bought Tupac's ring, which is for $1 million. I saw a video of him at Starlet on like Side Talk NYC. A little bit off topic, but just to add some background. So he's saying that I would have paid double the wage and let like a Canadian who dissed the West Coast and then owned the ring and then make Pac roll in his grave. One thing that Drake did that was very smart is he basically put Eminem from 8 Mile and said stuff that people can say negative about him in his own tailor-made freestyle. Because if I say something negative about myself that may or may not be true, when you say it, it just takes away the power. You know, there was an allegation that Drake obviously like kissed a fan who was underage on stage, and people thought that, you know, it was kind of creepy and weird, which I will admit in the time, and it still does look kind of weird. But he said that in a song so that, let's say if Kendrick were to say it, you know, it's not really like an exposure if we already know and if I'm already talking about it. And it just takes the weight and damage away from you delivering the message and you delivering the blow.
I don't like you popping shit at Pharrell for yo, my hair is the beef. Yeah, fuck all that pushing P. Let me see you push a T.
Kendrick Lamar seemed to avenge everyone's past issue. He talked about himself inheriting beef from Pharrell. He talked about the Pusha T beef, which is arguably the only L that Drake really ever took in rap outside of lyricalness, because when he exposed the story of Adidon, basically Adonis, Drake having a child with a P-star, that was a lyrical battle that Drake couldn't come back from because it was real. You know, Drake could have probably murdered Pusha T on that track in response, and even said, you know, I wasn't hiding my kid from the world, I was hiding the world from my kid. We found out Drake had a mystery child, the biggest artist, the pop star in the world, hip-hop rapper in the world, had a kid that we didn't know about, and we heard about it for some unknown rapper at the time. And, you know, I'm not going to lie, I did my homework. I know Eclipse is the group who has his brother Malice, and they're pretty known in the city. But at 2018, when I was younger, like, I didn't even know who Pusha T was. I just heard about some random guy who had beef with Drake, And I guess he had beef with him and Lil Wayne from 2012 days because there's other diss tracks back in the day. And he just went at him and exposed something that the whole world just didn't know, and that really just blew up the spot.
Wait, I know some shit about niggas that make Gunna wanna look like a saint.
This next bar doesn't even involve Drake and put Twitter detectives on a chase, where Kendrick said, I know some shit about niggas that'll make Gunna wanna look like a saint. Now we all know in the end of 2022, Gunna took an Alfred plea, and just being 1,000 of y'all, we don't even know what that means anymore. People are looking at Gunna like, my nigga, you told. I'm sorry. Like, until Thug says something which you legally can't because that'll be witness intimidation, my nigga, you told. Like, we don't want to hear none of that. You're out of there, you told. And that was the whole ideology, and that's how people felt about it. So according to Twitter detectives, I'm doing my research. People are saying that allegedly in 2010, and I'm from the city as well, so I can't act like I've never heard this before, that in the 2010, a rapper, Sizzlack, who's a Toronto rapper, robbed Drake outside this restaurant called New Ho King, which is something that was later referenced later in the song. And obviously, this wasn't confirmed, of course, but what he's trying to say is that Kendrick is implying that Drake cooperated. Point blank, period. He's trying to say that he cooperated, he snitched, that he got robbed. And we all know in hip-hop, snitching is career suicide. And that's why he brought up Gunna, saying, I know some shit that'll make Gunna want to look like a saint. Because, sure, we can say that Gunna snitched, but if we didn't see that Yes Ma'am clip, we would be okay on Gunna being out. We would have been the happiest. But that little clip, the DA's on some shiesty-ass behavior, and we just don't mess with Gunna anymore. I can't say we. I still mess with Gunna. Proud of Them was a hard track. 101 is coming real soon. But let's get back to the Drake. Kendrick Lamar would say that he hates everything about Drake. And in my opinion, this seemed really like a nursery-ass, corny type of rhyme. Hip-hop is about lyrics, and this seems like something that was actually a reference out of a movie, 10 Things That I Hate. And Drake responded with the video. But let's play the lyrics first.
I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk. I hate the way that you dress.
I hate the way you talk to me and the way you cut your hair.
What I will admit right here is that Kendrick Lamar did win people over when he talked about Drake's cultural impact and how that he doesn't really do anything that represents the culture. And he said, how many fairy tale stories are you going to tell? And how many features are you going to need until you know that, or you at least feel that you're black enough?
Just me, I'm what the culture feeling. How many more fairy tale stories about your life till we had enough? How many more black features till you finally feel that you're black enough?
One thing I will admit is, through Kendrick Lamar's storytelling and just his persona, Kendrick Lamar is definitely the black poster child of American struggle and the things that he talks about. And he went at Drake for basically having these fairy tale ass rhymes and not talking about, real valid things going on and having to be around black people or black artists from the streets to feel validated. What Kendrick did right here was funny because he attacked the major insecurity and problem that most biracial children have. It's like you're too black for the white kids and you're too white for the black kids. And Drake actually, despite being raised by, a Jewish white mom, he embraces his black side a lot. Like he hones his crown. He's with his people. Like he'll be with his dad in Memphis. And if you look at the artists that he's around, from Lil Wayne, Birdman, that Louisiana, people from the streets, like that's real black culture. Even 21 Savage, Young Thug. I don't know if I can say Lil Yachty because Lil Yachty's not like the street perspective, but a lot of the artists that he's around, Lil Durk, are from the streets. And I'm not going to say that Drake is around him for cool points. Jay Prince definitely has a wide range of looks being around like the white folks where he's, he gets to be himself and kind of like, play onto the jokes. But when he's around the street people is like, he's with the OVO crew. It's funny because, Drake gets a lot of hate for being biracial because he's white and he's not a full black person, but Kendrick Lamar's wife is just as black as Drake. And Kendrick Lamar talks about his love for black women and loves the black woman, but he's with a girl who's just like Drake. And you know what I'm saying? Look the same, light skin, you're half white, you're half black. Like he's just as much black as your girlfriend. So it's like people are kind of moving the goalposts, It's kind of funny because when it comes to Drake, a lot of things can be said. And honestly speaking, Drake is someone who a lot of people don't like because of who his stature is. So Kendrick Lamar going to say that he likes Drake with the melodies and he doesn't like when Drake acts tough. And he said that they're really about something why he didn't get back after Puff allegedly slapped him, which was something a rumor happened at a DJ Khaled party in Miami a bunch of years ago.
I like Drake with the melodies. I don't like Drake when he act tough. You gon' make a nigga bring back Puff. Let me see if Chubbs really crashed something.
Personally, I feel like the media throughout the year forced this tough guy persona on Drake. When Drake is too lollygag happy doing certain things that I don't want to say are feminine but aren't street or super masculine, people are clowning Drake like, oh, he's the type of guy to go to sleep with both of his feet up. Or he's the type of guy to say Jeez Louise. Or people are just playing with his name. But when he's with Jay Prince, Mob Ties, The Real Steppers, Lil Durk, 21 Savage, people are like, oh, why is Drake trying to act hard? It's like, yo, Drake really can never win, and that's just the truth of the matter. He can never win because, oh, he's on the white people, he's acting soft. Oh, Drake's not truly black. He's on the black people, he's white. Why is he trying to act tough? It's like, yo, like Drake is at the highest level, is fighting that biracial, I don't want to say warfare, but it really is just the identity crisis. And despite being as big as he is, people still trying to always remind him that his mom is white, and like, yo, you know how the niggas, what they trying to say, like, you're not that, like, you still have, like, play your part.
When he act tough, you gon' make a nigga bring back Puff. Let me see if Chubbs really crashed something.
The story behind the situation goes that Drake attended a DJ Khaled birthday party in 2014, and Puffy slapped Drake in the face. But the reason that he slapped him in the face was because Drake took a song 0 to 100 that was on his If You're Reading This Is Too Late album and made it a hit. But when Puffy first heard the song, he didn't want it because he just couldn't see or hear lyrically or sonically how it would be a good song. And he was mad about that. So he's saying, yo, if you want to be a crash show, bring Chubbs and tell him to get back because, you know, Puffy slapped you and that Drake didn't retaliate.
Top dog, who the fuck they think they playing with? Extortion my middle name as soon as you jump off of that plane, bitch.
On push-ups, Drake had a verse that said, extortion, baby, whole career you been shook up. Cause Top told you drop it, give me 50 like some push-ups. Talking about how Kendrick Lamar allegedly signed a slave deal in 2004, whatever he signed to TDE, and how that, you know, Top Dog owns 50% of his publishing, and he had to give away something crazy or pay millions of dollars to leave the label in 2022. Kendrick would say, hey, Top Dog, who the F they think they playing with? Extortion my middle name as soon as you jump off the plane, bitch. So he was basically responding to what Drake said, saying, yo, I'm not being extorted, I make my own money, I'm getting it how I live, and basically debunking that whole narrative that Drake pushing push-ups.
I even hate when you say the word nigga.
So adding to the list of things that Kendrick Lamar hates about Drake, he would tell him, I hate when you say the word nigga, and that's also because Drake is biracial, he's half white, he's half black, and hip-hop, it's like, you know, you embracing your blackness is the way to win, and we all know Drake, he's half white, and the media will never let Drake forget that his mother's white and that he was Jewish and born in Toronto, and try to just downplay his success and his come up because he relatively did have it a bit easier on the lifestyle-wise growing up, but still had to fight just as hard to make it because no one wanted to give, you know, the light-skinned singer nigga from Degrassi a shot in the music business. So Kendrick Lamar would say, let's speak on percentage, show me your splits, I'll make sure I double back with ya. Now this is a clear response to what Drake said on Push Up, saying, pull your contract because we gotta see the splits, the way you're doing splits, your pants might rip, and talking about the amount of money that he has to split with his label, TDE, because people are just in his pockets. So Kendrick responds saying, you were signed to a nigga that signed to a nigga that said he was signed to a nigga. And this is actually a bar that Pusha T already said in his old song, like Exodus, I think, going at Drake. So I'm not sure why we're giving Kendrick all this credit when he's really like recycling bars, recycling things that other people have already said. It's like I'm being very unbiased, but I have to also bring that up. And that's why I feel like this record wasn't hard hitting, because Kendrick Lamar is bringing up stuff that people have already said about Drake. We've heard Rick Ross say that he's BBL Drizzy and that his body isn't real cool. We heard Rick Ross expose, you know, Drake for having a child with a P-star and him hiding his kid from the world. It wasn't hiding the world from my kid, all the other stuff. And then he's going to talk about like a cease and desist record that is right upcoming. And it seems to be that he's saying that Drake tried to get like that not played on the radio, which there seems to be some proof. I don't know if it's Photoshop, but it looks like him referencing the French Montana situation with Rick Ross, because that's why Rick Ross unfollowed Drake. The bar that you were signed to a nigga that signed to a nigga that signed to a nigga is basically talking about Drake because he's signed to Lil Wayne's Young Money. Young Money's under Birdman's Cash Money, and Cash Money's under Universal. Very straightforward if you ask me. So one of the most catchy bars and pushables when Drake said, like, what the fuck is this, a 20v1 nigga? What's a prince to a son? Basically going at Kendrick. So Kendrick will respond with this bar right here.
Ain't 20v1, it's 1v20.
So Kendrick Lamar is poking the bear, going at the 2015 Drake Meek Mill allegation of having a ghostwriter. And that is something that will always be ammo for any rapper that goes at Drake. Despite that, we've all gotten over it. The fact that it is true. People don't really care anymore. I feel like only really older hip-hop fans who are maybe over 30 care. The new generation like me, yo, as long as it sounds good, like, we know everyone's getting help. They might not be writing like, okay, I wrote an essay here, just go write that to your song, but everyone's going to be inputting and giving their takes on certain parts of the song and what sounds good and what you should use. And that's just how music always been. Like, people are taking pointers, people are taking reference tracks. Everything isn't original, and we already know that. To end it off, Kendrick Lamar is making fun of Toronto slang. I don't know if I should feel recognize, happy, or valid. And to be honest with you, I feel valid because it was a Drake diss.
Difference. Don't speak on the family, Crody. You can get deep in the family, Crody.
And he talked about Crody, fam, just things that people use here when they're addressing their friends and family. In a slang term, of course, and that's just how the slang goes. Kendrick Lamar saying cheesing me, fam, and Crody is just too much for me, man. I've had it all for today. I'm going to be posting more content. Thank you guys for watching, and I want to make a quicker video so I can put a more polished video later. Jared the Star, subscribe for more.